If you're looking and contemplating and thinking about leaving active duty, I seriously want you to consider transferring directly to the Reserve or the National Guard for several different reasons, because you're running the risk of not being able to rejoin or be denied re-entry regardless and despite if you had a previous medical waiver approved, if you had a permanent profile and the military was aware of it and they were good with it then, they're not going to be good with it if you leave the military and try to re-enter into the service. I will share with you and bring up a few key topics for you to factor in your decision-making process to help you decide what you feel is best for yourself. And if you have a family, what is better for your family overall. So the first thing I want to talk about in this video is you directly transferring from active duty straight into the National Guard Reserve, going through your RCCC if you're in the Army, which is basically your full-time retention staff that will do your retention counselings and all that stuff and have the ability to literally transfer you directly into the Guard and Reserve to whichever your new home of record is going to be and where you're planning on going. They will find you a local unit and transfer you directly into that branch of service or a component of the Army if you're going Army. All right. So this is very, very important because if you decide, F this, I'm out, maybe later on in the future, if I decide I want to revisit the idea of serving again, I'll just go through the normal enlistment process because it was too easy. The Army knew about ABC and the Army is going to be good to go when I come back. Wrong answer. I am actively serving as a recruiter and I am telling you,
I don't give two but I am telling you right now,
do not go through your recruiter. This is not the time to get out and try to get back in later on. If you do, you have to re-enlist or sign your new contract within 6 months of your active duty ETS date. If you don't do so, you are subjected to complete a new medical exam at MEPS, and you don't want that. I'm telling you, you don't want that heat, okay? So go through your RCCC if you're on active duty Army and transfer directly to the Guard or Reserve. Because if you go through MEPS, somebody ain't gonna make it. Which leads me into topic 2, MHS Genesis. The reason why I don't want you to go through a recruiter like I previously described in my first point is because Genesis is going to prevent you from rejoining into the military. If you've been living in a cave under a rock, totally unaware of what's been going on, and part of the recruiting crisis of the military today as we know it is Genesis. Genesis is a system that has been put in place by Department of Defense to help screen potential applicants looking to join or rejoin the military like yourself, and to make sure that they are physically eligible medically to be here, right? Among other things. But in this case, you coming back into the service. It doesn't matter if you had a permanent profile before or if you got a medical waiver before, you're starting fresh from the ground up. So the issue you're going to run into, because Genesis we have a contract with HIE, your Health Information Exchange. So anything that is in your digital electronic medical records, Genesis is going to have access to it. Any military medical facility you ever process to is going to be visible by MEPS now. And we're going to do what we call a complex pre-screen. And that essentially means is we're submitting your paperwork ahead of time. So every prior service individual looking to join is going to get a fine-tooth comb scrubbed through their medical history, not only on the military side, but on the civilian side, which leads me into, I don't even know how to really state this, but let's say for whatever reason, directed by your recruiter or by your own accord or whatever, if you fail to have mentioned anything from your medical history previously during your first time of enlistment, is going to come up in question this time, and you're going to have to go through the proper channels to get a new medical waiver approved. And if you had listed a pre-existing medical condition or issue in your past and had obtained a medical waiver, you have to redo that whole process in addition to that. So with Genesis in place, there's no wiggle room to lie or lie by omission by not sharing it. Just assume Genesis is going to see it. So anything that you've gone on sick call for or processed at a military medical facility or went to your civilian doctor and it was participated in through your insurance, chances are Genesis is going to see your civilian record. It's going to make it that much more difficult and challenging for you to re-enter the military and prolong that process. So I'll put it to you into perspective. I had an applicant, non-prior service, of course, never served, knee surgery. From the moment we started the process at MEPS to the moment we got the medical waiver approved for his knee surgery, took 6 months. Now, that's a long process. So do yourself a favor and just transfer directly from the active duty branch of service directly into the Reserve or National Guard component of your branch of service. I cannot stress that enough. Which leads me into topic number 3, which is disability ratings. Every time a active duty soldier leaves their active duty service, every service member, prior service and in service, is going to tell you to go to the VA, submit your medical conditions and issues that the military has inflicted upon you to get the highest possible disability rating that you can get, which is fine. But in doing so, understand that you're taking that risk of being denied re-entry. Now, it could be worth a good chunk of change when you get out, which is fine if you're not planning on coming back in. Just my advice to you is to make sure you keep all of your medical records and transfer to the Guard or Reserve and continue your service as is and still submit your VA claims later on, but when it comes time for you to actually exit the military. The reason being is if you get 30% or more of a VA or Veterans Affairs disability rating, you're just not going to be considered for the National Guard. That is the cap at 30%. Reserve might be able to take you, but then if you're over 30%, then you have, depending on how much over that percentage that you are, there's a percentage that you're going to owe back to the government for overpayment because you can't make over a certain percentage of VA disability compensation, right? And receive military pay on top of that. So make sure that if you do somehow, by the grace of God, get through the entire process and approve to re-enter more than 30% of your disability rating, make sure that you're filling out the proper documentation, that your unit is getting the proper amount of pay to deduct from your monthly pay or at the end of the year when you do taxes, because you don't want to put yourself in a financial situation where you owe a crap ton of money and you done spent it all. So be responsible. Now, again, even though you have your rating and you're Gucci, you're good to go, you're rolling in the dough, you know what I'm saying? You got your rating and you're collecting the dough. You got it. If you get out of the military and you're looking to join, you got to go through MEPS again, right? Again, 30%, as long as you're otherwise eligible and MEPS grants you permission to join, or you can obtain the appropriate medical waiver, then you're good to go. But you got to go through MEPS, and MEPS ain't playing no games, y'all. I'm telling you right now. If you don't remember, I'm gonna keep quiet because I don't want to get in trouble again. But you don't want the heat from MEPS denying you. It doesn't matter that you had a prior approved medical waiver or that you were on a permanent profile. You gotta go through the whole process all over again. And a lot of times they're getting denied. Even though it was approved before, they're getting denied again. The last warning for VA disability ratings: if you got out and let's say it was more than 30%, let's say it was 50% and above, and let's just say you got 60% rating and you want to go National Guard or whatever, and you got to get it down to 30%. Some recruiters would tell you, oh, don't worry about it. Request to reduce it down to 30% and you can increase it later once you leave service. I have yet to hear anybody confirm that if they had it reduced to 30%, that they would be able to join, right? I've actually seen people who had like a 90% rating making pretty good money in compensation of the disability and reducing it down to 30% just to go through the MEPS process, ultimately just to get denied. And now, not only do they not get to join the service again, but they decreased their disability rating from 90% all the way down to 30%. In my opinion, I do not think that it is worth it to risk reducing your disability rating down to 30%, because you're going to possibly get denied at MEPS. And if a waiver is recommended and it ultimately is denied, now you're out of the military still, and you got less money coming to you on a monthly basis, tax-free, through your disability compensation. Don't do it to yourself. You've been warned. And topic number 4 is health benefits. As you are aware, when you're full-time, you don't pay a penny for health benefits or even dental or vision. Now, as a part-time soldier, we have a program called the TRICARE Reserve Select Program. More to follow. Let me backtrack a little bit. As a healthy 19-year-old male, almost 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. I was 19 years old back in 2002. I was paying almost $400 a month, between $370 and $390 per month for health insurance as a healthy male that didn't smoke, didn't do drugs, and anything like that, right? $390 as a 19-year-old healthy person. So I asked ChatGPT earlier today, and I asked it, what is the national average for a monthly premium for health insurance? And it said to me, obviously there are other factors in this, but as a generally healthy person, the national average in 2021 was $440 per month. That's more than what I was paying over 20 years ago. With that said, add your family to that, you're looking $800 to over $1,000 a month if you're going to include family coverage on top of you. That's expensive as hell. So my proposal to you is transfer to the Guard Reserve, because you can use the TRICARE Reserve Select program in the Guard or the Reserve, which is, as a single soldier, $50 per month is what you would pay as a single soldier. And doesn't matter how many dependents you have, you will not ever pay more than $250 per month for family coverage. That is a huge savings. A lot of people who transfer from the active duty to the Guard Reserve, this is one of the main reasons why they do that 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out of the year in the Guard Reserve, for this benefit alone. In addition to that, after 20 years, if you decide to go for the long haul, you can retire after 20 years as a part-time soldier. So that's another thing. Furthermore, I'm not quite sure if you're tracking this, but Congress is entertaining a bill that we're proposing that we waive the fee for not only the soldier's monthly premium for health insurance, but the entire family premium. So we want basically what active duty has, which is no monthly payments for your insurance, basically for medical. So the intent is we're asking for more than what we're hoping to get at the minimum. So if we went there and said, hey, listen, we would like to waive the single soldier rate, and they deny that, then you're screwed. But if we're asking for family coverage, hopefully they approve it. But in the event that they don't approve that, right? So we might not get what we ask for, but we might get what we need, which is the bare minimum. The soldier gets free healthcare while serving part-time in the Guard Reserve. That is the ultimate intent. That was the way that it was presented to us from our Adjutant General for the New York Army National Guard. That is what we're looking to do in the Guard Reserve, to have free healthcare, not only for the soldier, but for families as well. And if this happens, this is going to be a game changer. And I think that this may entice a lot more people who leave active duty and may want to continue serving on a part-time basis. So if you are active duty and you're considering on leaving the military, by me sharing this with you, did you find that helpful or not? Let me know down in the comment section. With that said, my name is Lewis here at Team Swartz. I post videos like this, helping you navigate the joining process, helping you make a well-informed decision on whether or not this would be a good choice for you, and to prepare yourselves for basic training. If you like this video, let me know. Hit the like button. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell icon so that you don't miss anything.